Good afternoon, YouTube, and welcome back once again to Fat Cat Collections. Another fragrance review today. As you guys know, I kind of go in waves when I review stuff, and I'll always share with you guys things that I add to my collections, you know what I mean? And a lot of times, some of the things that I collect, sometimes you'll find a video that isn't necessarily really part of a collection, but on a whole, it's anything that I'm really into is what you're going to find in this channel if you are new to the channel. And so today I want to come back with a fragrance. I haven't done a fragrance review in a while, and I do run a second YouTube channel for fragrance-only reviews. However, I haven't really put a lot of time onto any of the other channels like I do Fat Cat Collection. So keep in mind, hopefully one day I will start to grow that channel, just because some of you do come here just for my fragrance perspective. Now, before I do any of these fragrance reviews, I just want to state that I'm not really a professional, I'm not a professional fragrance reviewer. I'm not a perfumer. I'm just an avid collector. And one thing I love about the fragrance community is that people really there's not a lot of snobbery. Although I've heard that there is, I personally have never had any kind of issues other than getting something along the lines of, hey, that fragrance isn't for me, which is the way I wish everybody responded with anything they don't agree with. Hey, it's not for me. I'm glad you like it. Awesome. Thanks for the video. That kind of thing. But unfortunately, you know, like with watches, you got the snobs out there, and it is terrible. But fragrances, I will say, is a much kinder, I say, more accepting group of people. So thank you for that, guys. You know, you guys are awesome. So I want to share with you guys today this fragrance right here. And this is by Enrique Inglesias, and this is one of your designer cheapy fragrances. Now, I am a huge fan of cheap and expensive fragrances, and I gotta tell you, a lot of people get turned off when they see stuff in, you know, Walmart. You know, you can find fragrances at Kmart, Walmart, a lot of those big box department stores, and a lot of times fragrances like this just don't get the recognition they deserve. This is a fantastic cheapie. So what I want to do, again, I'm not a professional. I'm not some, you know, super skilled fragrance reviewer like there are guys out there, and I like to mention this in all my fragrance videos, guys like Red Essence, Jeremy Fragrance, and many other guys out there who can really pinpoint exactly what's in you know, a fragrance and really can kind of pick out the notes. I'm not too good at it, okay? And although I have a lot of fragrances, I've smelled well over a couple hundred. I own 150 to 200, a lot of big bottles, a lot of samples. But I do like to share them because everybody smells something different. And again, fragrances is very subjective. Some people, again, you may like certain fragrances, other people may not. But one thing that we can all, I think that we can agree upon is that even two people who have pretty good noses will smell something different. And a lot of times when I smell fragrances, I have to wear them a few times to really kind of get to know them and see what I feel about them. Sometimes I'll smell something and I won't get the comparison that I found on Fragrantica. A couple days later, I'll try it again, maybe with a fresh nose, and next thing you know, I'm like, wow, that does actually remind me of this other fragrance. So again, these videos are just tools to help and just kind of turn you on to fragrances that maybe you might have not heard about and you might discover. So again, Enrique Inglesias, this one here is called Adrenaline. So this might look familiar to you guys if you guys are, you know, fragrance aficionados and you guys like, you follow the fragrance community. This has a very similar bottle to some of the other colognes out there. It might remind you of one called Polo Red. And I want to kind of touch base on what I get from this fragrance, tell you guys whether I like it or not, whether I would wear it, and based on the things that I like, if you guys like fragrances that I've reviewed in the past and that you find appealing, then you might like this juice as well. I would say this is not along the daring type of fragrance. You know, when you start looking at brands like Zoologist, PK Parfums, brands like that, niche brands, you can really find some very friendly and very daring fragrances. So this definitely leans towards friendly. I don't think this is something that's going to turn off anybody. You know, really, I mean, everybody's different, but I'm very open-minded with fragrances, so I don't think this is something you're going to pick up and say it's terrible. Now, when you do read fragrance reviews that guys have posted on, not necessarily YouTube, but Fragrantica, if you haven't checked out Fragrantica, and you guys know I never really endorse, you know, sites or companies that I'm not affiliated with, but if it's something that I do find beneficial, I have to share. Some sites I gotta share with you guys. So I know most of you have probably heard of Fragrantica and base notes and stuff like that, but Fragrantica is really a great tool to kind of make an educated guess, an educated decision. And like I've said in many other videos, whether it's watches or cars, whatever you may buy, leather jackets, it's always good to have a little bit more information to hopefully make a good educated decision. You don't have to spend, just like watches, thousands of dollars or hundreds of dollars on fragrances. Now, if you find one that you really like, by all means, buy it, wear what makes you happy, but I love getting a deal. I really enjoy it. So this, guys, the price on this, $13.95, and I'll put a link in the description where you can pick this up. 3.4 ounces, and a lot of people might think, a lot of guys might think, oh man, if you don't spend $70 for a bottle of cologne, you're getting something cheap. Not true. Remember, this isn't rocket science. It is a science. It is an art, but it's not rocket science, and stuff like this isn't really, I don't think, meant to be taken too seriously. You either like it or you don't. So again, I never get too focus on the bottle, but I do like this one. It's kind of modeled after a flask. Naturally, don't be guzzling it down, guys. It's not a party juice. The color, of course, red, reminds me of the Aftershock bottle. It's a kind of a cinnamon liqueur I used to drink back when I was 19. I can't believe we would bring bottles of that with us to the club. This is ridiculous. But anyway, it reminds me of that, just a very syrupy kind of juice. It is a flask style, obviously, and you have a pretty nice cap. It's almost like a plastic weathered, kind of like a deep bronze cap. Nothing really to write home about. Sprayer's pretty good on it. A lot of times a lot of guys will review the sprayer. I really don't care as long as the juice comes out. It atomizes pretty decent, but nothing really over the top. I've had some sprayers, if you've ever sprayed something like Sauvage, which I think is kind of a sprayer to be is noteworthy. Sauvage, when you spray it, at least the one that I have, when you spray it, it's like more of a psh, like you can really fine tune what you're spraying. This is more of your generic psh, and nothing really to write home about. It works. Again, 3.4 ounces, 100 mils, $13.95, incredible deal. So let's talk a little bit about the notes in this. So in your top notes, you're going to have mandarin orange, you're going to have violet and lemon. In your middle notes, you have star apple, you have black pepper and saffron. And then in your base notes, you have leather, you have cedar, and then tonka bean. And I'm a big fan of leathery fragrances. Now this here has been compared on Fragrantica to Polo Red and, of course, Ultra Male by Jean-Paul Gaultier. Now Polo Red, I don't really get the comparison with Ultra Male, but I probably only smelled it in passing. But when I compare it to Polo Red, which I have a very small sample, thank you, Angie, this is a fantastic fragrance, and I've always liked this because it's a leathery, sweet, kind of reminds me of a coffee note. It is what you'd expect out of most Polo fragrances. There is that Polo DNA there, but it's a pretty decent fragrance, and I definitely like it. So as far as the pyramid breakdown in Polo Red, you have cranberry, Italian lemon, and grapefruit in your top notes. Middle notes, you have sage and saffron. And then in your base notes, you have coffee, amber, and woodsy notes. And one thing to be noted also is a lot of times fragrances can kind of smell like one another without having to have the exact same ingredients or notes. A lot of times layering different notes will kind of give you the same experience that you might find in another fragrance, right? So I will say I do get the comparison between these two, but I can't say that it's over the top identical. But I will say, I honestly, to my nose, I like Adrenaline better. I feel like it's obviously a better value. You really can't go wrong. And this is one of the few cheapies but goodies that I have found. Probably the best I've found in a really long time. I like to keep my fragrance purchase kind of in the $20 range. But I'll spend more for something I really like. But this is absolutely fantastic. You really can't go wrong with the price. And I think why people make the... now, again, keep in mind, there's only 4 votes for people who say this reminds them of Polo Red. And remember, when you go to Fragrantica, always take those reviews with a grain of salt. A lot of people say there's more of a bubblegum note in this, and I kind of get the sweetness that you get with that bubblegum note. And I probably would say, just judging on the notes here, maybe that star apple and that saffron might kind of mimic that. So as far as the fragrance, I don't, when I smell this, think that this is a leathery fragrance. I don't even get leather, but I definitely get kind of a peppery sweetness to it. And again, it's really hard for, a lot of times for guys like me to tell you guys exactly what I smell. I can only tell you whether I like it or whether I don't. And I'm just going to refresh myself here. I've already worn about 8 sprays of this. And I have to tell you, oh, it's good. And I have to tell you guys, a lot of times people will be like, oh, it turns into a skin scent super quick. For a price like this, carry it with you. If you're going to an event, if you're going somewhere and you want to just refresh yourself, it's easy enough to throw in your bag, throw it in your car, or place it nicely in your car. It's not a big deal. Some guys really go over the top now. Oh, it turns into a skin scent in 2 hours. I put this on probably about 3 hours ago. I could still smell it radiating off me. But remember, I'm a heavy trigger finger when it comes to fragrances. So I'm always going minimum 5. I go on the back, both sides of the neck, kind of towards the front, both 2 sprays on my arms, and usually up my shirt, and then I'll refresh myself. So today I've, again, probably put on 8 sprays, including the 2 that I just put on, and it smells fantastic. It's not overbearing. There are some fragrances, like I always bring up and when I do a review about what I consider cloying, because everybody smells something different. When I smell Oud Satin Mood, that one there it's a 1 spray fragrance because it's so potent. So this I compare this right up there with any designer fragrance that I have. CK, Calvin Klein's, your Sauvage, your Yves Saint Laurent, all those kind of the same longevity to me. So again, I'm never too concerned with stuff like this. The only fragrance that I've ever reviewed that I feel really does not last at all is like 4711, and that's just like, bam, it's like within 10 minutes it's gone. So again, this is not one of those juices. This is a fantastic, new word, fantastic fragrance. I definitely highly recommend it if you like some of the notes that I mentioned, and for the price, you really can't go wrong. I can tell you right now, if you have smelled Polo Red, I know we're kind of in a weird time right now where a lot of stores aren't open, depending on where you may live. If you do like Polo Red and you don't want to spend the money for it, I think you'll absolutely love this. There is definitely a similarity, and because I think that those notes, where it comes to, with adrenaline, when you have that star apple and, of course, that lemon, I think naturally both of the juice, the similarities between these fragrances, you have the lemon, you have the saffron, and you have woodsy notes. And I think what Polo does, it has the coffee, and then adrenaline has tonka bean, which those 2 are very similar notes. So those notes are all very similar, and I think in the same in a couple of those, 3 of those that I mentioned. So I think a lot of those notes, when they overlap, that's where those similarities come into play. You may not necessarily smell the cranberry, but I can see how why that comparison is made. So again, so like I said, sometimes I'll put on a fragrance, I'll smell it, and I'll be like, I don't get that comparison. I'll try it the next day, and I'm like, wow, that really does remind me of that fragrance. So either way, guys, again, I'm just giving you guys my opinion, my 2 cents. Take it or leave it. I do think it's a fantastic juice, and you really can't go wrong with the price. Definitely one that I will, again, replace in my collection, although I have so many fragrances, I'll probably never go through them. It is absolutely fantastic. And also, I mentioned the bottle kind of reminds me of your old CK1s. Very similar, very basic, nothing to write home about, but it does look pretty cool. I'm kind of, even though red is not a color that I wear a lot of, I do like red. It's very shocking, So check it out, guys. Enrique Inglesias, Adrenaline. Super great find. Link is in the description. Let me know if you guys have any questions whatsoever. I'm always here to help. Again, that's my opinion. Check out other guys who might have reviewed this. I haven't really done a lot of research on YouTube on guys who have reviewed this. Just a quick search since I got you guys here, and I just don't want to see you go away quite yet. See if I recognize any. Let me just see if anybody I like. And I like a lot of you guys who review this stuff. Enrique Inglesias and Adrenaline. So let me see how many reviews we have here. So not a ton of reviews on, well, actually there's not a ton of reviews actually. There's a few guys reviewing this. A lot of guys I haven't really heard of. One dude who has reviewed this, who I do like to watch quite a bit, is Brooklyn Fragrance. I can't talk today. Brooklyn Fragrance Lover. He's pretty good on this stuff. So check him out, guys. If you like the content, subscribe to the channel. Naturally, every time I do a video, I get a phone call. All right, guys, have a good day. Take care.